We're camping out here and at the edge of the world near Flagstaff, Arizona. You can see my truck behind me, and this is Brad.
Howdy.
We just did a walkthrough of his Toyota Sunrader, this badass truck here, and we're gonna walk around and Brad's gonna tell me a little bit about his story. He's been living on the road now for 4 years, is that right?
Yeah, 4 years full time on the road.
And he likes to go primarily to find some backcountry spots and stay for a week or two. So he moves pretty slowly.
Yes, definitely. My finances dictate that. I am not, don't have a lot, so I have to really budget my travels and stuff. So I designed the rig so that I could stay like 2 weeks at a time in a location and just really post up. And I found the benefit of that is pretty amazing because I really get to immerse myself in the location and get to know the area. And having my e-bike, I can also travel around after I've posted up camp. And one really cool thing too, I've met the most amazing people when I've been able to be like 2 weeks in a location, because all of a sudden it's like during the week, I always expect this. During the weekend, you're gonna have neighbors. You know, it's just gonna happen because
Even if
place,
you're deep in the backcountry, right?
even if you're deep in the backcountry, because the Jeep, the way they build rigs now to get back in and have fun, people want to get back there. They want to take their Jeep out and they want to go hit this trail that they've heard about from their friend or something. Or people from, across the state. I've met people, as far as back east that have just ran into each other in Colorado in the middle of a canyon way down deep. And I'm thinking, how'd you even know about this place? I mean, I found this place from a buddy of mine that's been traveling for 7 years to find places like this, and your first time in Colorado and you found this place, but it's really just through exploring. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times you'll see posts and say, hey, I'm going in this area, where do I go? And a lot of times people will share those locations, but a lot of times it's mum's the word and go explore and find something and see what you find,
So we've actually been hanging out here for about 24 hours now.
Yeah. We met at Expo.
We met at the Overland Expo in Flagstaff on Sunday. I have a video all about that, so check that out. And while I am a total noob in the overland world, I drive a stock Tacoma, very simple. Brad's got
Great
his
platform, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Brad's got his fully custom-built Sunrader, and he's out here in the backcountry living pretty much all the time like this.
Yeah.
And we sat and talked all day yesterday, all night. Telling me a lot of his story.
He's nosy.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to know all the juicy details. But this guy has worked so many different jobs throughout his life. He's extremely versatile and skilled in so many ways. A photographer, a current YouTuber, but the photography happened way back when you were a teenager.
Yeah, film days.
Yeah, working in the dark room. He's got it. He worked in real estate. He worked in gold mining briefly.
Yeah.
Repo man. Pastor. He's a pastor in Colorado. Is that right?
No, California.
California.
Yeah. Big church.
Lived most of his life here in the western U.S. states.
Yeah.
And now, 10 years with his little dog Lily, and 4 years on the road. What has been some of the bigger challenges for you adjusting to this lifestyle now?
This lifestyle, the biggest thing was the fear of starting. I'm like a lot of people, when you start to think about an alternative lifestyle, you start to research it and what is it all about? How do people do it? How do they make money? Where do they go? And I did what probably most people do. I went to YouTube and looked up the van life. What is van life? And started looking at all these people who live in this alternative lifestyle. And I was looking for very budget-friendly living. I mean, I realize a lot of these people actually still have jobs and they're working on the road while they're traveling. So basically they've changed their office, right? pretty cool office. I mean, if you can work like that. But I was looking at something more of, I got to give my age away, especially when you think about all the jobs I've had. It's not like I'm 20 years old and I've had all these jobs. I'm 60 years old. So it was the challenges of learning how to do this, and I needed to be in an area where I was going to be able to do this budget friendly. That was really important to me. I had a small business before I started this. Through unseen circumstances, I had to let the business go, and that put me on a path to figuring out how I was, in my mind, how I was not going to be a burden to society, how I was going to be able to take care of myself as cheaply as possible, yet enjoy life. And so I started looking at what van life is, and I found people like kind of in my same situation. They didn't choose to be there, because a lot of what you hear is, oh man, I'm tired of the rat race, I'm getting out of this, and I'm gonna go live in the wild, you know, type of thing. And it's great for people that can do that. That's not my story. I had a lot of unfortunate things happen, and I just rolled with the punches and decided, how can I make this best fit my now current situation? And I found out living any kind of lifestyle really is learning to be content with where you are. It's not like you have to stay there, but contentment breeds happiness. So if you're not content, you're always striving. You're always striving for something more than what you have. And even going to expo, I mean, that can be envy crazy, right? Because I mean, yeah, I love my rig and it's a cool rig, but there's some pretty dope rigs out there, you know, that I absolutely cannot afford. And so it put me in a place of figuring out how to do it for me. And I took 2 years to build my rig in my backyard. I sold what was left of my business after COVID, one of the unfortunate circumstances that happened, and hit the road.
One thing that's really impressive with Brad's truck is that he did almost all the work entirely himself and had to learn a lot of the skills to do that. When I first started my YouTube channel, I met Shaggy, who did the same thing with his van.
Yep.
You know, completely self-taught in all sorts of different skills with electric and welding.
Yeah.
And, you know, any sort of mechanical work that involves vehicles. And so it's
I've
really
never been afraid of mechanical work. My dad was a mechanic, and it's not that he actually taught me any of the mechanics. It's that I learned that if somebody put it together, you can probably take it apart and figure out how it works.
He was telling me a story last night about tearing apart
dumpster diving
as a kid, dumpster diving, and they found these 4 or 5 calculators that weren't working, but they were curious, how do we get these to work again? So he tore them apart and was able to get a couple of them working and then sold them.
Yeah. It worked.
Yeah.
But I've just never been, actually, I shouldn't say I've never been afraid to tackle something. I love understanding how things work mechanically. I can't do that with computers. I can't do that with programming and that kind of stuff. But if it's mechanical, I like to understand how it works. I'm very analytical that way. And that has carried me to being able to build something like this. Learning to do woodworking, learning to do fiberglassing, which I had to do. Welding I knew because I had a buddy that helped me with my first rock crawler that I built. This is the 3rd vehicle that I've actually built. So it's not like I just went hog wild and put something unsafe on the road. My rock crawler was my test because it didn't go on the road. It went on the rocks and it rolled over, and you roll it back over and you keep going. That's what it was built for. And I learned that my welds were properly done by a skilled welder who was watching over what I was doing. And I suggest if you're going to do something like that, that you have somebody teach you, because, you know, that's dangerous on the road if it's not done right. And on that, we talked about it before, if you're going to build something up and add a lot of weight, make sure all your brakes and all that stuff are upgraded also. Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned this yet on this clip, but Brad gave me a full tour of his truck, so check that out. And he goes into detail on pretty much every single little aspect of the Sunrader.
Yeah.
So we have this amazing,
just looking for
ridiculous
Lily.
view here.
Lily! Hey!
Oh, we got to find the dog.
Lil!
The dog.
Oh, there she is. Okay. She's over here. In the foxtails.
Now, Lily is, I nicknamed her the Little Giant.
Yep. I like it.
And
Because she acts like one.
She is very clearly the most ferocious road dog
Yeah.
out here, you know.
She thinks she's a beast when she doesn't know you. And then sometimes she forgets that she knows you and starts protecting after she's met you for a couple days. Huh. I don't do that.
I'm curious, man, on what it's like to live on the road full time for 4 years, but mostly, almost entirely in the backcountry. You know, with a lot of, I guess you said earlier van life, right? With a lot of van life people, they're in cities a lot, in towns a lot. You know, maybe doing some stealth camping, maybe staying at campgrounds a lot.
So I'll bring that up. So I don't camp in the city at all. I do not camp at campgrounds at all. Mm-hmm. The way I look at it, I'm close enough somewhere in the mountains that I can find a back road and stay there. Now, one thing we were talking about is, so after I started looking at van life, the scary thing was starting, right? Get back to that. Sorry, I left that thought. So I have a buddy, Brian, Off-Grid Backcountry Adventures, and he knew I was going to start this. He's been living out of his Toyota Tacoma for 7 years, and he does winter hot tent camping. And that's his YouTube channel. You can check him out. And he's become a good friend. And through that, he knew that I was going to be starting out in places I knew nothing about. So he hit me up and said, hey man, let me take you all through Colorado. Let me show you all the places that I have camped in the last 7 years, so you know where to go and you know what time of year you can go there as the snowfall starts changing. And that was invaluable. That has given me the places that I've gone actually for the last 3 years when I go to Colorado. I spend a lot of time in Colorado because I love the colder weather and the snow. So that really helped to solidify my start. And that's something else that I found out over the years is this community is amazing. There's no, what do I want to call it? There's no competition. Everybody really hopes for everybody else's success, even if it's over your own. Like doing YouTube, you could look at it as being something that's competitive. Like I've got a lot of YouTuber friends, you know, and they're like, oh man, can I do a walkthrough of your rig? And it's like, sure. I mean, I haven't done my own walkthrough yet. I've lived in this thing for 4 years and I've not done my own exterior walkthrough yet I've probably been on 6 different YouTube channels of other people doing the walkthrough. And it's great for their channel.
Now 7.
Yes. doesn't do anything for mine. And that's okay. Because it's kind of the attitude of the people that you meet doing this kind of thing. Just really hoping for other people's success.
Well, and it's also just, you know, I think a lot of us are just following our interests, right?
Yeah.
Like I see Brad's truck and I think, well, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And not only that, but when we met at the expo, just a really nice guy cruising around on his bike with his dog Lily in his backpack. And I have a clip of that I'll show. But yeah, man, that's really interesting that, you know, this lifestyle can be, you know, very much solo. You're out on your own a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And yet at the same time, you've made so many friends through the overlanding community and
absolutely
through YouTube and things like that.
Yeah.
But of course, that's not a necessity to do what we're doing.
No,
you know?
Absolutely not. Well, when I started this out, we were talking about this. When I started out, I wasn't even thinking about doing YouTube. I was literally just finding a way to live as cheaply as possible, yet still do what I enjoy, which is being outdoors. And it wasn't until my buddies, Brian, Off-Grid Backcountry Adventure, and Phil down to Mob, we finally met because we'd all talked back and forth. Phil, I don't know if you guys know this, he's a good friend of ours also. You probably end up doing a walkthrough of his new rig when he gets it.
Whenever he sells his current one, right?
Yes, exactly. We won't say what the rig is, that's a surprise. But so what happened is these two guys saw my rig, and we got to finally meet each other, and they're like, dude, you've got to do YouTube. He goes, this rig is so cool. People are going to love it. They're going to love Lily. They may like you, you know. And so I started looking at it, says, gosh, you know what? This might actually turn into a viable way for me to do more than what I wanted to do, which is just survive. You know, go maybe, like I had an opportunity to go to Baja next week. And unfortunately, I can't do it because I don't have my passport on me. So I'm kind of bummed that I'm not making that trip, but it's those kind of things that open up to you. And if you don't have the financial resources to do it, then you can't. And I've got to realize every time I step out and do something that's a financial thing, could be 1 month that I'm no longer on the road, possibly, unless this all works out.
Do you want to talk about your health issue?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that's also kept me from making the decision not to go to Baja this time is because of the weather. So the business that I sold, what I did is I installed real estate posts for realtors in Arizona. And I ended up having what amounts to 3 heat strokes because of that business. And every time you have a heat stroke, you become more and more susceptible to the heat. So what I found out somehow is it affected me in that my body doesn't know how to cool itself anymore. And that has really limited my ability to enjoy the outdoors as much as I would actually like.
One thing that Brad told me about with his health problem, he's been able to work around it.
Yeah.
Where he has a Surly mountain bike, and it's his favorite thing to be able to putz around anywhere he's at while his truck is parked and where he's camping at. But then as his health issue worsened a little bit, he decided to electrify the bike.
Yep.
And
Make it
so
easier, and I can still get around. And Lily loves riding in the backpack, so yeah, that was important to also have an emergency vehicle in case the vehicle actually broke down. Because if I had to hike out 7 miles and it was hot, I could, potentially that wouldn't be good. So having something that just has a throttle and I can go is much safer for me to be out there. And something I want to bring up on that, because I get a lot of different people on my YouTube channel, and I get a lot of comments about people talking about their health and issues that they have and how that's keeping them from doing the things that they love to do. And this is a dangerous health condition I have. I mean, it could end me basically, but I'm not going to let it hinder me from doing what I love to do. It may shorten my life one day. That's a strong possibility, but I would not give it up. And I encourage people, if you do have some kind of issue with your health, see if there's something that you can do to, I know people who have CPAP machines that do this. They just make sure that they have the right kind of power sources so that they can power their CPAP machine so that they can continue adventuring and doing the things they love to do. Now, I can't hike as far as I'd like to hike. I can't get into some of the high alpine lakes that I'd love to go fishing at because of the risk of the hike to get there. But I built my rig so I can still be out here in this. And so it's not the best life that I could be living in this circumstance, but it's the one that I'm happy to be.
Yeah, Brad's been able to figure out a lot of workarounds with his issue, and he's been really resilient and been able to, build this amazing life for himself despite what a lot of people would say is, it's
can't
too
do
much,
it.
can't do anything.
Yeah.
And he's living proof that that's not the case at all. He's able to go to incredible places and, live a very stress-free life right now.
For sure.
Now, one thing I'm interested in is because, we talked about Brad has so many different jobs throughout his life, has very versatile and has worked in many different places and different industries and different trades and skills he's learned. How has all of that together translated to helping you live your life here and doing what you're doing with this lifestyle you have now?
I think independence, just being able to tackle problems that happen along the way, because they're inevitable. You're going to be out in the middle of the woods someplace, something's going to happen, and you're going to have to deal with the surroundings around you and figure it out. Yeah, I've had because I did repossessions, I've locked myself, and I've had other people that I'm camping with that lock themselves out of their car, and all I got to do is pull out my pick set, and there you go. So, it's kind of cool. You just take all the things that you learn through life and you use them when you can. And it's fun when you get to use them to help other people. A lot of what I do on my YouTube channel is I try to share ideas that I've done. I talk to a lot of people all around the world actually that are building rigs, and when they see my rig, they always have a lot of questions about suspension and all these different things, and I can talk to people for hours on Instagram, helping them out with their builds and stuff like that. So I enjoy doing that, and it's nice to give back in that way.
So we talked about the challenges of getting started,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to know the challenges that you face continually now
On the road.
4 years on the road, just regular things that are a little bit difficult at times.
It's kind of silly, but things like where to fill up with water, when you're out, raising prices of groceries is a constant concern when you're on a limited budget. But for the most part, in a way, I've kind of played it safe to stay away from that stress by going, like for the last 3 years, going to locations that I know and that I'm familiar with. So I've kind of negated that struggle, really. The things I do concern myself about, there's a video where I wanted to get to over this mountain pass, and just to get to the top of the pass, I was in a foot of snow, fresh snow. I had to cut through 3 fallen trees from the heavy snow that had crashed over, remove those. When I finally got up to the top, I got up there and got to the pass that I wanted to go to. It was heavily snowing, and I had to make a decision. Nobody knows I'm up here. There are no tracks, which means there's nobody traveling up here. I'm going to be the only one up here. Do I take it? Do I go? And with my health issues, that's a real big concern. So I have to, a lot of times, make decisions and not push my boundaries, know where my boundaries are, and not try to exceed those and put myself into dangerous situations. I think that's probably the biggest thing that deals with my health. I challenge myself sometimes. I was at this beautiful canyon, and there was this huge gorge, probably something like this, but there was this beautiful water down there, and it was just begging to be fished. So I grabbed Lily, grabbed all my gear, brought both my cameras. I just was full blown traveling down, got down there, had a great time fishing, but on the way up, I was wearing my wader boots, soaked in water, pushing it like crazy. First time I had done that, pushed myself like that since I've had issues with my health. I just wanted to see if I could do it and not have an attack. And it was great. It felt great. I was able to do it. And it's pushing myself to grow, see how far I can get, but not pushing it over the limit where it's going to be dangerous for me. And I constantly face that every time I decide to do something different, to push my body differently.
So we've talked about some of the challenges.
Yeah.
I want to know the benefits and the amazing parts of this lifestyle that you've created for yourself.
The people.
Yeah.
Absolutely the people I meet on the road. Typically always like-minded. And it's funny because if you watch my channel, you'll see that I talk about people, but you never see them. And it's trying to find a balance here's the way I look at it. I live on the road full time. This is all I do. So I'm comfortable. It's not like I'm somebody who's working 9 to 5. I don't get out all the time, and I'm going out into the woods because I haven't been there in 7 months and I'm getting away for 3 days on the weekend. Do I really want to bother that person? Do I really want to bring my camera and say, hey, I'm a YouTuber, man, would you like to be on my channel? You know? So I find out about them. I'm able just to, without a camera, have these candid conversations and learn about their life, and they're able to learn about mine. We become friends, and I typically never film them. It's kind of I think a detriment to my channel, but it's definitely an asset to my life, the people that I meet. I've met some of the most genuine people. I've met people, a lot of people from back east, and they're like, people have always invited me to their property. People have always invited me to say, man, if you're ever in this area and you've got a problem with your rig, I've got a full-blown shot, bring it in, we'll get you taken care of. It's that kind of community. That's probably the best thing about it. I mean, I love the places that I go, and I hear a lot of people talking about how they're introverts and stuff, and it's kind of funny because I see them when they're around other people, and I see how happy they are and excited they are. It's lonely on the road. It really is. It can be lonely on the road. And it's very refreshing when you get to meet people.
If there's somebody that is considering, doing some sort of a full-time vehicle living, maybe it's in a van, maybe it's in an overlanding vehicle like your truck, what is just a bit of advice you have for somebody like that?
Read my friend's book, Normal to Nomad.
Normal to Nomad.
Normal to Nomad.
And what's the author? Baron Link?
Baron Link.
I knew the answer.
Yep, because you saw the book.
Yeah.
No, serious. My buddy Baron and Elsa, they lived in a 13-foot scamp since they lived in it for 7 years traveling.
And a scamp is a tiny little trailer.
Yeah, very tiny. Little fiberglass trailer.
It's probably about the size of your truck cab almost.
Just the fiberglass portion.
Yeah, that's
but
what I
the
mean.
bed is also in there, so they don't have a separate bed.
Oh, wow.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
And they did that for 7 years. They have some of the most amazing stories and most amazing advice for someone getting started. He put all that knowledge in a book, and it's a great read.
So that's been one of the most helpful pieces of advice for you was that book.
It not for me because I was already living it. So I already knew pretty much. I learned everything by experience, but for somebody getting into it,
sure, yeah,
it's a great place to start to really get an idea of the things to think about. Because there are definite things I started with, I no longer have in my rig. So basically, I spent money on things I didn't need to spend on, and they go through a lot of that about things that are really necessities and things that they found out were just not necessities that they thought were when they started that journey.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get wrapped up in the builds of what to buy, what to put in your vehicle, what to add. And Shaggy, who I did a video with when I first started my channel, he's been living out of his van for 5 years. He said something great. He said that when he was considering getting into that lifestyle, he used the car he had then. And I think it was maybe a small sedan or a Subaru or something little.
Cool.
And he did a trial run, just doing, I think he did a whole summer, so like 3 or 4 months living out of his car. And he said that is like an absolute necessity. Before you put $50,000 into building out some sort of camper van or a truck or something, or going to the Overland Expo and buying everything you see, it's like just try living out of your car to see if you even like that lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Because Shaggy said that he had met people that put all this money into a rig, get out on the road, start living in the lifestyle, and they don't like the lifestyle.
They don't like the lifestyle.
And then what do you got to do? You got to turn around and sell this thing that you spent a year building out or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think, while I don't necessarily see myself living out of my car full time, I know that just my simple little pickup truck with a camper shell and a bed in it, my bicycle, that's enough for 4 months for me, man.
Right.
I don't need to go all out.
And buy some big, oh man, it's Overland Expo. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, simplicity can really help there.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you agree with this, but most people already have all the things you need to live out of your vehicle
Yes.
and travel.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you don't need a camping coffee mug. You have a cabinet full of coffee mugs.
This one was given to me.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many things that, you know, and eventually I'll make a video talking about my truck, but there's so many little things that you already have laying around that you can build out
Absolutely.
everything you need. You know, you just have to know your limits on the trails you drive.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
I have a stock Tacoma truck with off-road tires, so I can go down some pretty good trails, but his truck can go down trails I won't never even attempt.
Right.
You know, just to be safe. So
And I've been a rock crawler, so it's like I know how to do those trails with the rig.
yeah.
I know how far I can push it. Like I've had that on a side hill at 25 degrees, and that was a butt clencher. I was definitely not comfortable with that, but it handled it really well. You know, I kind of knew what to feel for, to know if I was pushing it too far, and knowing what you can do, it really helps. And one thing, bringing up that what Shaggy did, so when I built this, because it was fully gutted inside, I took sawhorses and I make up shelving and counters where I thought I might like them, and then I went camping in it to see if that configuration worked for me when I was actually wanting to use it and move around. And I think that design changed 3 times before I came up with what I actually came up with.
Before the permanent
Yeah,
build.
before the permanent
Yeah,
build.
so you prototyped your layout.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
super cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to waste it and, have to do it 3 times.
Maybe there's somebody wondering what it's like to be so detached from cities and society in a way, you know, because you're unique in the sense that, like I said earlier, a lot of people that travel and live out of their vehicles a lot of the times will go into cities often, but you stay
Yes.
out here so much. So what is that like, being out in the wilderness by yourself for so many days every single month?
Gets lonely. It does. You run out of things to do, especially, again, the health issue comes into that kind of. There's almost so much I can do. If I could hike, I mean, there's some cool trails down here, and if I could take a couple hours and go on a cool hike, that would be something I could do, but I can't do that. So I'm very limited in the time I have. I got to be comfortable in my own skin, just being alone with myself type of thing. I'm very introspective. It gives me time to figure out my life, where the next step is, what I'm going to do, make plans and stuff like that. But I really enjoy it when somebody pulls in and they seem like they're friendly, so I can meet a new person and find out their story and say hello to them.
Yeah, or there's somebody at the Overland Expo that says,
Yeah.
"Hey man, where are you camping next?"
Right, right. Or it's so funny because he comes up to me and Phil, we were hanging out there, and he says, "Oh man, you guys do YouTube." He goes, "Is there any pointers you can give?" And it's so funny because never meeting him, I had no idea his background and his history. He goes, "Oh yeah, I was in production and film crew and da-da-da." And I'm like, "Dude, you should be teaching us." Which I've gotten some pointers from this guy, so I really appreciate that. Definitely.
Oh man, I still don't know what I'm doing. We're here
It's
figuring
all
it out
learning.
together.
Yeah, it's all a learning experience for sure.
It's been a
Absolutely,
blast.
every day.
Let's go hang out by the truck.
Yeah, right. Lily finds a shady spot. Huh, Stinker? Yeah.
Lily, what do you think about overlanding? You have to tell me about Lily's chair here. So if you guys notice, we have 3 chairs.
Yep. Lily, come
two
here.
for the adults and 1 for the dog.
Come here. Come on, get in your chair. So I was at Overland Expo last year. Lily always likes jumping up in the chairs, everybody's chair, and mine's kind of too tall for her, so I went and bought her a chair. So she has her own chair. We take this with us. And it's kind of cool too, because if somebody were flaky to come in to camp where I was camping, they see 2 chairs, they think there's at least 2 people. They don't know where the other person is. I might be there, and they're thinking, okay, there's somebody else here too, and they don't know who it is. So,
That's smart, yeah.
Yeah, that's always a thing too. I've never had, and just to say, I've never had any sketchy issues being on the road for 4 years. I've never run into sketchy people or anything like that. I mean, I did hear a gunshot in camp once and had to go investigate that. But yeah, nothing out of the, scary moment where I said, oh, I better get out of here. This vibe doesn't feel right. That definitely could be different with, I don't say that to say put yourself in a risky situation, especially if you're female. Pay attention to your gut, and there's no problem with that.
I think a lot of people do have that fear, though, thinking that it's really dangerous out here.
Yeah, yeah. That's
like bears are going to crawl in your camper at night.
Yeah, I've not had any of those yet. And that is kind of a concern because you have a trasheroo back there, and now that is one thing too. So like anything that would have any kind of smell in it, what I'll use any of the plastic bags that I've previously used for food in my refrigerator or freezer, and I'll put those remnants in a plastic bag before it goes into my trasheroo. So it keeps all the smells out. Hopefully keeps the animals from coming in, because when we allow the animals to come in, we actually put them in danger.
Yep. Tell me again the story about the deer that decided to come hang out with you for about 3 hours.
You want to sit down?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I was up in Colorado, and Lily makes it very difficult for me to, being a photographer, I love shooting wildlife. And I have a really nice 600 millimeter lens, so I can get up nice and close with them. There she goes. And, but when she sees them, she starts barking. Well, we're sitting there at the campfire. She's just sitting inside the truck, and all of a sudden this deer comes right into camp. I mean, the fire is as far as I am from you. The deer comes up and almost wants to lick the fire, and I literally had to kind of like shoo it away so it wouldn't get burnt. And then the deer hung around for like an hour and a half, just hung around camp. And Lily was really good. I'd hear her go, and like, Lily, no, because I didn't want it to run away. This was like so cool. So this deer hangs out, and do you want me to tell you what I found out about deer? Okay. Don't know if you know this, and this is something to pay attention to, because a lot of times we think we can just shit in the woods and not worry about our toilet paper and stuff like that. Deer will dig up toilet paper and eat it. And I did not know that. And I watched this deer go all around camp, where I didn't even know there was toilet paper in the ground, and start digging up toilet paper and eating it. And it was really disgusting to think that deer was having to do that. And it created a huge mess too. It also showed me that not everybody is as irresponsible as we think they might be, because a lot of times we see toilet paper on the ground and stuff, and we think, oh man, that person just left that there. How disgusting. That may have actually been buried and animals dug it up. And a suggestion for that, like I have my composting toilet in there. I use a doggy bag for my toilet paper. So after I get done, all that goes in a doggy bag. It gets squeezed out, it gets tied in a knot, and it gets thrown away or burnt. And it's biodegradable bags that I use also. And that'll keep it out of here, which is a great idea, I think.
And you were telling me too that deer
Yeah.
was malnourished, and
It seemed like it was pretty malnourished. It didn't look as healthy as I think it should have been. And it wasn't in a camping area. We were way back in the woods, so it was amazing this thing felt so comfortable, and that could be because of its malnourishment. It could have been looking for food from me, although it didn't come like directly up to me. But it went away after about an hour and a half. It went away for about 20-30 minutes, I think it was. And it came back with a friend, and it hung around for about another 45 minutes or so, just hanging out at camp. It was the most amazing experience. I got all kinds of photos of these guys as they were so close to me. Just a memorable experience, yeah. And that's one of the neat things about immersing yourself in an area and staying long enough, is it allows the animals to become comfortable with you being there, and they start to show themselves, which is really cool. Because a lot of times you pull in and you never see anything, but if you're there for 4 or 5 days, all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, this isn't a problem. And they start grazing around you, which is cool.
Brad, thanks for showing me your rig.
Yeah, man.
Thanks
absolutely.
for hanging out and talking with me.
Absolutely, it was cool.
We've got so I've got 2 videos with Brad. We've got the truck tour and the rig exploration full detail breakdown.
Yeah.
And then we've got a video where him and I kind of do a bit of a walk and talk, and he tells me about living 4 years on the road in the Toyota Sunrader
With health conditions.
with health conditions and his 10-year-old pup Lily.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out his YouTube channel, it's called Sunroamer Overland.
Yep, please do. Follow the journey. Love to have you along.
And subscribe to Logan Let's Go as well.
Absolutely.
See ya.